webinar, we are going to be talking about the benefits of Power BI. And just taking a quick look at our agenda, we're going to talk very briefly about some Power BI features, and then we are going to be talking about 4 benefits that I've identified that are pretty common among the companies that I have worked with that have implemented Power BI and other companies that I have interacted with just using the tool, and how they have seen the same type of benefits with their use of Power BI. So just talking about some Power BI features. I always harp on this in any session or any webinar or anything I say. I always talk about connecting to multiple sources. Power BI can connect to so many different sources, and with the ability to get into SQL servers or OData links, there's hundreds of sources you can connect to. So you don't have to view partial pieces of information within each software system that you have. You can look at pulling all the data into one report within Power BI. This is especially helpful for managers and executives that want an overall view of how the business is doing. Talking about the analytics and visuals, Power BI is equipped with many different visuals, and there are even more available for download from app stores. Visuals can be customized in a multitude of different ways, so the report can be as unique as your business. With additional options such as trend lines or conditional formatting and bookmarks, you really can elevate your reports. When I talk about interactive reports, there are a few different ways that you can interact with your data. You can use slicers that allow end users to filter the data on the page. There's also a Q&A so that questions can be asked about the data, and Power BI returns a visual, and we'll look at those 2 things here in a little bit. Drill downs can be set up within a visual to create a hierarchy. Out of the box, date type columns automatically have a hierarchy. However, you can create your own, such as a hierarchy that's, division, branch, location, and then manager, or whatever is applicable to your business. Drill throughs allow you to create a detailed page within your report that can be navigated to from a particular visual. So if you wanted to know more about a particular data point, you could have a drill through option that would show more information. One of the most popular features of Power BI is the ability to have data refreshed automatically. So with Power BI Pro, your data can be refreshed up to 8 times a day with the use of a gateway. If you're not using Power BI Pro, data can still be refreshed manually. It's just a click of a button. So it's a lot easier than some of the other running report tasks that people have to do. And then ease of communication and collaboration. Power BI reports can be shared through other Microsoft channels such as Teams or SharePoint, and users can subscribe to receive emails of the reports. You can also set up workspaces, so a single group of users can have all the reports they need within the same area, and there's no need for an administrator to share each individual report. There are also comments available where users could communicate directly within the online reports. So these are just some of the basic features of Power BI. I could probably spend days and days walking you through each one, but just wanted to cover some of the basics. So when we look at the first benefit I've identified for Power BI, saves time. And there's 3 different levels where it really saves time. The majority of people that are going to see this is going to be those that are running the reports. So just kind of a rhetorical question put out there. How much time would you guess your organization spends on creating reports? I've seen anywhere from 15 minutes to several hours per month, but even a savings of 15 minutes can be worth it. Gathering all the data from each system and placing them together to create a full picture can be quite a hassle. Then, when you have people start reviewing the reports, they might question some of the numbers. Why is this number so high? Do you know what's causing low productivity in this area? And this can begin a bunch of back and forth emails or phone conversations and several uses of the phrase, I'll have to look into that and get back to you. Then there needs to be time spent researching individual transactions and finding a reason why. Creating a report that uses drill down or drill through options can allow you to have this information at your fingertips. Well, why is this number so high? Let's look into those individual purchases that give us that number. Why is there low productivity over here? Well, all their service calls have been really detailed problems. And how we can see, I have a basic example here. And I'll show you how a drill down and a drill through can work. This is just an example job cost report I have. And on this chart, off to the right, I have some different information on our job costing set up by division. So we have industrial and commercial. If I turn on the drill down and I'm like, okay, why is this industrial division performing this number? And I can click into it, and now it's pulling down. I only have one project manager there. Let's look at commercial here. Now I can look at it and say, okay, well, maybe it's only one project manager that's having that issue, or maybe they both are. Maybe it's one area. I could even go further down. In this one, I go from project manager into individual job. So that it can be like, maybe it's just one job that's skewing everything out. You can keep drilling in and you can set those hierarchies up yourself. When you look at drill throughs, when we were talking about like the individual purchases that might affect something, a drill through is more than just on a visual like this. So down here, I have a list of all of my different jobs. And what I can do, I've set up some conditional formatting here on mine that alerts me to ones that are not performing as they should be. So maybe I want to know more about this job that's in the red. I'm going to go ahead and do a drill through into the individual job information, and I've set up a page to give me more specific information about this job. It's pulling down to the actual cost elements. Are my numbers looking off because I had to pre-purchase all my materials, so I'm not going to have any more material costs for the rest of the job? Is it my labor cost is high? You can pull any of those transactions. When you do sales reports or financial statements, you can pull down to those individual purchases or those individual invoices if you want to be able to see into the specific line points that are adding up to those summary numbers. Let me go ahead and move that back off. And then for those taking action on reports, when do you usually receive reports? Especially with financial reports, I generally hear the end of the month, quarterly, or the end of the job. However, when reporting is delayed, a lot of times it can be too late to correct a performance problem. If you could have daily or even weekly access to a report showing how you're currently trending, you could make business decisions that help improve the month-end or quarterly numbers. Could we lower costs in another area to compensate for something that has a cost overrun? Could we spread out the detailed problems to attain more consistent productivity across all teams? You may not be able to solve everything, but if you aren't reviewing the data as things are happening, you won't have a chance to solve any of it. The next benefit that I've identified, and it seems weird that it's a benefit, but you'll see why as we get into the third benefit, but talking about a customizable experience. So it's super easy to fall down a customization rabbit hole when you're creating reports because you can customize everything from color, font, size. You can set trend lines, conditional formatting for those table and matrix views. You can add buttons that navigate to outside of Power BI. You can have axes or not have axes. I mean, there's so many options available. And we're not going to go into all those different options. What we want to talk about here is how the end users can have a customizable experience when using their Power BI reports. So talking about the first bullet point here, reports can be created for each end user with the same data set. So with a little additional training, you can allow end users to create new reports from data sets you share with them. I hear a lot, everyone likes to see the data just slightly differently. I like these points, but I also want to know this. We hear that a lot. What you can do with this ability is you can create a combined source of truth, like a set of data that you've pulled in from all the systems. You can filter it how you want it filtered. You can do some cool formatting, doing some custom columns with formulas and all sorts of analytics, and you can share this data set of truth. And then your end users, such as like managers or leaders, could create an individual report set up exactly the way they want to view the data. Maybe your manager in production wants to know, productivity on their team, or your manager of sales wants to see, how much is being sold per year. Each leader could create their own reports and set up the way they want to view the data. Everyone is still using the same data set, but the reports can be individual. Talking about security levels. What's awesome about security levels, they allow you to create one large report, but limit what end users can see or have to filter through to find data pertinent to them. So you can have, here's our entire sales report, but I don't want team A over here to see team B's information, and then I have executives that want to see everything company-wide. You either have to create reports for each level, or you can just do security roles within Power BI. And let me show you what that looks like. So I have just a service call report here. And in my visual, we can see a bunch of divisions off to the right-hand side. And I want each leader of the division to only see service calls for their division, because that's what I want them to be focused on. But then I want our executives or the overall service division branch manager, or whatever that title would be able to see how all of the divisions are performing. So within here, I've created roles. I'm going to show you the roles I've created just in manage roles here. These are all the different roles I have. So I have a role for each leader. And if I look at like the PM comm, it is just going to filter out division is that PM comm. With this executive one, you can see there's no filter. So what is that going to look like for my end users? I can view as roles, so I can see what it's going to look like. And if I go to what is that person who I've assigned this role to going to see, I'm going to click OK. And you can see everything's filtered down. This is just their division, just their data, and that's what they will see when they open up. They're not going to have to filter through everyone else's data. But then an executive who wants to see everyone's, if I look at that role, they're going to see all the divisions again. So one report, many people happy, it's two birds, one stone type situation when you want to set up roles. This can be done for security purposes in you don't want them to see the data, or just for clutter purposes. You don't want them to have to filter through that data if they're not concerned about it. Another option for a customizable end user experience is dashboards and favorites within Power BI. So let's look at both of those. Dashboards allow you to pin things from multiple reports. So you can see here within my Power BI, I have a lot of different reports, but I can have a single company dashboard and pull and pin different visuals from those reports. So I can see some things from a sales report, some things from a job cost report, some things from a service report, all on one page. And then if I select one of them, this is going to take me directly into that sales report or whatever report it came from. So people really can customize what they want to see. With favorites, you can see this is a sales report and I have a little star, just like you do on adding favorites to your internet browsers. You can favorite your reports. And when you're on your home page for Power BI, here are some of those pins that I've favorited from my dashboard. And here are my favorite and frequent reports that I use. So I can easily navigate to them. I don't have to look around for the data. Favorites themselves are also available within the tab itself, which is right underneath the Home tab. Okay. Benefit 3, super important, higher end user buy-in. At the end of the day, all reporting is going to succeed or fail based on your end user buy-in. And this is a helpful tip no matter the reporting system you use. Always consider your end user when creating reports. With Power BI, reports are easy for end users to consume. They can quickly navigate to the reports they want, and they can work with the data. It's easy to work with your data. I have found that end users love to interact and work with the data presented. So I find slicers are super popular. That allows the data to be filtered in multiple ways, along with those drill downs and drill throughs that we looked at previously. Slicers are filters that you place on the face of your report and allow users to determine grouping of records to display results for. So for example, let's go back to this job cost report we were looking at. I have 3 different filters here: customer name, job name, and project manager. I only have a couple of project managers, but if I wanted to say, just show me and we can see, the visuals updated to show me ands. If we look at my service report example here, I have 3 different filters and they all look a little different, but I can filter between status. So if I want to look at closed or open, show me all open. Let me click on that. And then I could choose a different division. So I want to know everyone for the service rental department. And you can see the visuals are updating. These are just basic text type columns that I've used for my status, but you also can have date type columns and you can filter down. You can either choose by month or you can even filter show me January 1st through January 3rd, 2021. So you can have date type filters as well. Another thing super popular are subscriptions. So subscriptions allow you to sign up users and then they receive an email that is sent directly to them at a particular day and time to remind them of the report. A lot of reports, an administrator can sign up multiple people, but if you are using the row level security, each end user must sign themselves up. But here's an example of a report description that I have for my job cost report. And all it does is at a particular time and day, and you can do daily, once a week, you can set it as custom as you want. It sends me a snapshot of the page that I signed up for. It also gives me a link directly to the report. Especially when you are launching new reports, it is helpful to have people sign up for subscriptions just to remind them to check it out. And then let's talk about the last benefit that I've identified for using Power BI. At the end of the day, you've got your users working on it, they're using the reports, it's made people's jobs easier. That's awesome, everything is great. But at the end of the day, the goal is to become proactive versus reactive. Why is it important to have that quick and accurate reporting? You want reports that'll help identify both positive and negative trends so the appropriate business decisions can be made. The quicker you can make these decisions, the more impact they will have on your business. So we've talked about automatic refreshes. Power BI has the ability to automatically refresh your data up to 8 times per day, so you don't have to wait until the end of the month to see how you've performed. If you see a job going south, you can drill into the information and look at making some changes for the remainder of the job. Or if you have sales, what division is struggling the most with sales? Is it a particular salesperson or is there something going on in that area? This doesn't have to be just job performance. You can apply it to any aspect of your business. There's also a couple other cool things to look at. One thing being these key influencers. So let me pull back that service report we were looking at before. Key influencers, I don't use a ton, but it can be kind of neat. So I've set up key influencers, and what it allows you to do is you take a piece of data and you start saying, I want to explain it by these other pieces of data, these other data points that I have, and tell me if there's a correlation that makes this number either increase or decrease. So you can see I said, well, I want to know about the billable amount for all my service calls, and I've got a lot of fields over here to the right. It took that many fields just to get a few results here within the key influencers. But some of the things it's told me is when the type of problem is security code not working, the average billable increases by $243. So that's a pretty profitable, or at least hope profitable. I know I'd have to look at cost versus billable, but that's something that is allowing me to bill more to my customers. You know, some of these things, type of problem, elevator not working, that looks to be a common one as well. If the cost of material goes up, the billable cost goes up, all of those are things that probably go hand in hand, but sometimes you can find things that maybe you didn't think of that correlate. And if I click on these, so I look at cost of material, it shows me a chart applicable here of those data points just to give me an idea of what we are seeing. This isn't always huge insights, but every once in a while, if you're not sure what might be causing something, it's worth giving it a try to see if there's something you may not have thought of yet. Q&A. Q&A is a super popular thing with end users that I've seen. Let me show you. We're going to go ahead and pull over our sales report. So with the Q&A, it allows you to ask questions about your data, and Power BI will return visuals to help you answer those questions. So I'm going to click on Edit on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and ask a question. And you can just make space for this on a report too, but we're just going to put it right on top. And I'm going to say, can I see customer balance by salesperson? And you can see Power BI starts to try and fill things in for me. It's also coming up with a visual. This is actually showing me my different customer balances by salesperson. So if we see, you know, Paul here at the top, and you could add this visual then to your report if you wanted to. So this can be helpful when you don't know what everyone might want to see. They can go in there and be like, well, wait a minute, can we explain this by this? And Power BI tries to kind of look for what you're asking and return a visual for you. Sometimes it'll just be an answer. So I put on here, can I see customer balance by salesperson? Well, if I went, what salesperson has the highest customer balance, it's just giving me an answer, Paul. Paul has the highest customer balance. So the Q&A feature can be really fun. A side note, I always tell people when you are using Q&A, make sure you have spent the time to clean up your data when you connected to it. A lot of times when you connect to SQL servers or even through OData links, schema names come over. And if that is not the verbiage that your organization uses or that someone would use when typing it in, nothing's going to come up. So I went through and I cleaned up. I've got, you know, customer balance instead of like CUSBLN or whatever the schema name was. If I had left it, nothing would come up when I had typed that in. And when we're talking about exploring at different levels and timeframes, the use of the slicers, the drill downs and drill throughs that we've already looked at, they really help to navigate through all your data within different levels, such as divisions, locations, teams, or timeframes to really help you pinpoint what is going well and what might need some further attention. Does anyone have any questions on what I've covered so far? I know there's plenty more benefits that people can get, but I really tried to pick out and highlight the most common that I see across multiple organizations and what seems to be the biggest impact people have seen in their business. Well, if you do think of any questions later, you definitely can reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen. And if you're looking for other ways to connect with implementation specialists, there is the information for our website, or you can reach out via email. On our website, you can check out our whole library of webinars on multitude of subjects, and you can also read blog posts as well. I thank you all for spending some time with me today. I am always excited about Power BI, and I hope you guys are a little more excited now as well. Have a great rest of your day.